Eldrad Ulthran, the last great visionary of a dying race, a mind capable of reading futures that even the strongest psychers could not comprehend. For millennia, he had carried the unbearable burden of guiding the Eldar away from extinction, holding back collapse with nothing but foresight and will. But imagine a reality where that burden finally breaks him. A reality where every vision reveals only ruin, no matter how hard he tries to bend destiny, where the threads of fate unravel faster than he can hold them. In this timeline, Eldrad confronts something no prophecy ever prepared him for. A future in which the Eldar race simply ceases to exist, utterly, silently erased. For the first time in his long life, hope slips through his fingers. And when that final spark fades, something else begins to whisper in the empty spaces of his mind, quiet, patient, and impossibly tempting. A voice that offers not destruction, but a different kind of salvation. Deep within the labyrinthine halls of Ulthway, Eldrad attempts once more to pierce the haze of fate. Countless timelines bloom before him, shifting and shimmering like dying stars. Yet every outcome ends the same. Shattered craft worlds adrift, spirit stones turning dark, and the once great Eldar reduced to drifting remnants in an uncaring void. He adjusts, recalculates, rewrites possibilities with desperate precision, only to watch them collapse again and again. Then he witnesses a vision unlike any other, an absolute future devoid of his people. No movement, no psychic echoes, no remnants of culture or memory, only cold emptiness. The shock hits him deeper than any enemy blade. His concentration falters, his breath trembles, and for the first time in centuries, he feels fear, raw and unshielded. And into that moment of weakness slips a subtle voice. Not loud, not forceful, just present. You've seen enough endings, Eldrad. Let me show you a beginning. At first, Eldrad convinces himself the whisper is merely fatigue, a phantom born from sleepless cycles and relentless strain. But the voice grows clearer, threading through his thoughts with unnerving familiarity. It does not command, it reasons. It does not threaten, it empathizes. It presents itself as something that understands the weight crushing him, something that knows the agony of watching a people fade. Slowly, dangerously, it begins to reshape the narrative in Eldrad's mind. What if the Eldar could be preserved, not by resisting the darkness, but by wielding it? What if he could forge a path, not constrained by the dying echoes of the past, but empowered by forces that had no limits? Each time he dives into the skein of fate, he feels the whisper guiding him, revealing alternate branches he had never seen before, branches where the Eldar survive, stronger than ever. But at a price he has always sworn never to pay. The true breaking point comes during a catastrophic vision, one that Eldrad has never encountered in any past or future. He sees a moment in which he must choose. Either allow a major craft world to be annihilated, or intervene in a way that will doom countless others. No matter how he bends the sequence, no matter how he rewrites the strands, the choice remains unavoidable. The helplessness crushes him. Centuries of certainty fracture in an instant. And in that collapse, the whisper finally speaks with clarity, no longer distant or subtle, but intimately close. You don't have to lose them, it murmurs. Not if you accept my hand. Eldrad hesitates. But in the visions swirling around him, he suddenly sees a future where the Eldar flourish again. Unified, empowered, unbreakable. A future he had never been able to produce on his own. His mind wavers. Logic warts. The line between sacrifice and necessity dissolves. And the darkness moves in. Eldrad reaches out. Not physically, but with a fragment of thought, a trembling sliver of will. That is all the whisper needs. Instantly, the presence envelops him like an ocean swallowing a lone ember. He feels it exploring the fractures within his mind, amplifying doubts he has buried for centuries, reshaping fears into conviction. The presence offers clarity, perfect, intoxicating clarity. For the first time, Eldrad sees branching futures where the Eldar not only survive, but conquer their fate. He sees Craftworlds rising in power instead of falling. He sees a united Eldari race, no longer splintered by old wounds. But woven through these radiant possibilities is a thread of corruption so fine, so elegantly disguised, that Eldrad almost misses it. With each new vision he accepts, his own psychic aura shifts, subtly twisting, subtly darkening. His once brilliant light becomes something sharper, colder, more predatory. And as he leans deeper into this presence, he realizes too late that it is no guide. It is a predator that has finally found its opening. The transformation begins not with fire or violence, but with a quiet, intimate rewriting of Eldrad's beliefs. He starts to view the Eldar's history not as a tragedy, but as evidence of their failure to adapt. He sees their ancient pride, their rigid traditions, their obsession with control, flaws that doomed them long before their fall. The whisper encourages these thoughts, nudging him toward a conclusion he once would have rejected instantly. The Eldar do not need preservation. They need evolution. They need a new shepherd who is willing to break every barrier, every rule, every chain that has held them in stagnation. And Eldrad begins to see himself as that figure, not a leader bound by ancient principles, but a visionary willing to wield powers his people fear. His psychic signature becomes volatile, shifting like storm patterns caught in a prism. As the corruption deepens, Eldrad's visions become sharper, more vivid than anything he has ever experienced. Futures unfold with impossible precision. The instant a craft world will die, the exact heartbeat when an exarch will fall, the moment a young seer will awaken her power. But among these glimpses, he sees something new. Futures where he stands at the center of a transformed Eldari destiny. In these visions, Eldrad commands not fear, but devotion. He leads armies not as a savior, but as a force of inevitable change. Dark energies coil around him, reshaping his silhouette into something no longer entirely Eldar. He does not recoil, he analyzes, he studies, he evaluates the efficiency these new powers offer. And slowly, disturbingly, he begins to accept the idea that purity is a weakness, that restraint is a cage, and that the Eldar's survival may require someone willing to embrace what they have always avoided. The whisper praises him softly. Now you begin to understand. The first outward sign appears during a critical moment on Ulthway. A psychic rupture echoes across the craft world, causing alarms to flare and wraithbone structures to tremble. Farseers rush to investigate, believing an external threat is breaking through the veil. But the truth is far more dangerous. Eldrad has glimpsed a future attack and attempted to divert it, using his newly expanded abilities. The result is a psychic shockwave unlike anything witnessed before, a distortion that bends light and sound, a rift that pulses with unnatural resonance. Eldrad stabilizes the anomaly effortlessly, yet the onlookers are horrified by what they felt. The energy was unmistakably tainted. Whispers spread among the seer councils. Some suspect an outside intrusion. Others fear Eldrad himself is overextending. But none imagine the real answer. Eldrad watches their confusion with calm detachment. Once, he would have reassured them. Now he only measures how long it will take before they become obstacles in the future he intends to forge. Eldrad withdraws deeper into isolation, meditating in the shadowed sanctums of Ulthway. But this isolation is no longer dedicated to clarity or discipline. It is devoted to communion with the presence that now shares his mind. The exchange grows more seamless with each passing cycle. Eldrad no longer merely hears the whisper. He anticipates it. He welcomes it. He reshapes his visions, not through careful interpretation, but but through the dark strands the presence shows him. His once elegant psychic pathways now churn with unfamiliar symbols and patterns, fractal geometries that twist and reform without end. These new methods grant him staggering power, but they cost him his balance, his empathy, and eventually his restraint. Where once he saw lives, now he sees variables. Where once he saw destiny, now he sees a structure to be rewritten. And the presence, pleased with his progress, unveils a final truth. He is no longer interpreting fate. He is authoring it. The crisis begins when Eldrad acts without consulting the Ulthway Council, a breach so unthinkable it rattles the craft world. He intercepts a warhost's deployment orders and rewrites them entirely, positioning Eldar forces in a pattern no strategist would ever consider. The commanders protest, believing he is making a fatal tactical error, but Eldrad's altered foresight sees something they cannot: the destruction of an entire craft world if events continue unchanged. Yet even this justification masks the deeper truth. He is testing how far he can push his new methods. When the battle unfolds, his predictions prove devastatingly accurate. Ulthway's forces achieve victory with uncanny precision, striking moments before their enemies act, anticipating their retreats before they begin. But the price is high. Eldrad manipulates the deaths of certain Eldar units to preserve the larger vision, allowing warriors to perish in carefully calculated sacrifices. The commanders sense something is wrong. Eldrad senses nothing at all. Word spreads across the craft world. Eldrad has changed. His once steady aura now flickers with volatile intensity, like a star burning too hot, too fast. Several young seers report disturbing encounters, visions collapsing when Eldrad enters a chamber, strands of fate twisting into impossible shapes, or psychic echoes mimicking their thoughts. The council demands answers, and Eldrad appears before them with a calmness that borders on chilling. He speaks in measured tones, explaining his actions with flawless logic, offering future projections so detailed they silence the room. But beneath his words lies an authority that was never there before, a tone that expects obedience, not agreement. When the council hesitates, Eldrad's eyes narrow, just briefly, as if calculating the most efficient way to remove their resistance. He does not act on the impulse, but the presence in his mind notes their defiance like names on a ledger. And Eldrad, for the first time, does not disagree. The turning point arrives when Eldrad encounters a vision that is not a future, but a possibility crafted specifically for him. In it, he stands at the center of a vast psychic nexus, surrounded by Eldar, who follow him not out of tradition, but out of absolute conviction. They are changed, stronger, sharper, liberated from the limitations that once chained their destiny. The presence shows him how to make this vision real. It offers him the final step, a deep and irreversible bond that will elevate his power beyond any Farseer before him. Eldrad hesitates, not out of fear, but out of understanding. He sees clearly that taking this step will forever separate him from his people, that he will no longer be Eldrad Ulthran as they know him. He waits for the doubt to hold him back. It doesn't. Instead, he questions why he clung to restraint for so long. With a single breath, he accepts the bond, and the darkness rushes in like a rising tide. The moment Eldrad seals the bond, the psychic plane around him erupts into a vortex of shifting symbols and spiraling energies. His physical form remains still, but his mind is dragged into a realm of pure thought, where reality responds to his will with terrifying speed. He feels every barrier, every limiter, every safeguard he has ever known break apart like shattered crystal. The presence no longer whispers. Now it speaks through him, amplifying his power, weaving new layers into his consciousness. Eldrad sees the universe not as a tapestry of fate, but as a design he can reshape strand by strand. He returns to his body, with a surge of energy that distorts the air around him, bending shadows and light. When he opens his eyes, their glow has shifted, deeper, colder, infinitely more calculating. This is not enlightenment. It is transformation. Eldrad Ulthran emerges from meditation not as a guide of fate, but as its architect, infused with a force that no Eldar should ever possess. Ulthwé feels the change immediately. Wraithbone structures tremble under waves of psychic pressure that ripple like distant thunder. Spirit seers sense dissonance in the infinity circuit, like a chord struck off-key, reverberating with unnatural resonance. Entire rooms fall silent as Eldrad walks through the craft world, not because he commands respect, but because the air around him feels wrong. Eldar who once found comfort in his presence now feel an instinctive chill, a primal warning echoing through their nerves. Yet no one dares confront him. His aura radiates undeniable authority, the kind that flattens doubt before it forms. Rumors spread. Some say he has unlocked a new form of foresight. Others claim he has broken some ancient barrier of power. But a few, those with the sharpest senses, fear the truth. They feel a distortion within Eldrad's psychic essence, as if something else stands behind him, moving with him, looking through him. They sense a future approaching, fast and merciless, shaped by a hand no longer bound to the Eldar's survival, but to absolute control. Eldrad's first major act after his transformation shatters the last illusions of his old self. A rival craftworld faces annihilation by an overwhelming enemy force. The council debates intervention, torn between strategy and compassion. Eldrad interrupts the discussion, offering a solution before anyone speaks. He reveals an intricate plan that will save the craftworld, but at the cost of dooming another Eldar fleet positioned light years away. The council rejects the idea immediately. Eldrad does not argue. Instead, he unleashes a psychic wave that freezes every mind in the chamber mid-thought, suspending their consciousness in perfect stasis. He walks among their unmoving forms with calm detachment, adjusts the deployment paths himself, then releases them as if nothing happened. The fleet is redirected, the plan executed, the threatened craftworld saved. But when news arrives of the Second Fleet's destruction, the Council realizes the horrifying truth. Eldrad is no longer seeking consensus. He is enforcing outcomes, and he considers the sacrifice of Eldar lives not a tragedy, but a necessary equation. With each success, Eldrad's influence spreads beyond Ulthwé. Smaller craftworlds, desperate for survival, begin to rally under his guidance, drawn by the unprecedented accuracy of his visions. They whisper that he has become something more than a seer, something capable of shaping destiny itself. His followers grow, forming a shadowed network operating beneath official structures. They call him the Harbinger of the Coming Path, a title that Eldrad never corrects. Meanwhile, the presence within him grows stronger, binding itself deeper into his psyche. Eldrad no longer distinguishes between his thoughts and its influence. They have merged into a single relentless purpose. He sees a unified Eldari empire rising from the ashes, reforged through necessary destruction and absolute direction. Resistance is inevitable, but insignificant. For Eldrad now wields a power that twists fate with precision unmatched in history. In this dark alternate future, he is not a fallen hero, nor a corrupted puppet. He becomes something far more dangerous, a visionary who believes he alone can save his people, no matter how much of the galaxy must burn to make it possible.